Advancing digital frontiers, transforming logistics with technology. In a world where the digital heartbeat defines progress, logistics companies are in the forefront of this technological revolution. This session promises to be more than just a discussion. It's an immersive journey into the future of logistics where technology is the catalyst for unprecedented growth. First, I would like to invite on stage our absolutely wonderful moderator for this session, Mr. Tej Contractor, Chairman, Advisory Board, Information Technology, ABIT, Triple FAI, and FIATA. A seasoned professional with 9 years in freight forwarding. He is the president at the Indian Institute of Freight Forwarders. He's also serving on the executive committee of Triple FAI. He's a certified trainer specializing in custom clearance, supply chain management, and freight forwarding. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Tej. Welcome, sir. Moving on to our next speaker, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Mehriyar Patel, Group Chief Information Officer and Digital Solutions, Gina & Company. He drives technology implementations and business strategies and digital solutions at Gina & Co. and 14 associated companies for its global landscape. With over 25 years of core business IT experience, he adept at successfully delivering organizational digitization, information technology, and change management solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Mehriyar Patel. Welcome, sir. Moving on to our next speaker, I would like to call on stage Mr. Binay Thopal, co-founder and COO Odex India Solutions. An engineer with 15 years of experience in project and partner management. He has worked with SAP Labs AG and Infosys in the past. He's one of the co-founders and directors of Odex. He's also in charge of the technology functions. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from Mr. Binay. Moving on to our next speaker, I would like to call on stage Mr. Anthony Joseph Githerian Xavier, founder and CEO, Entos Technologies. He is a seasoned techno-entrepreneur working with enterprises across regions for successful digital transformation. He has vast experience in implementing business process automation, rule-based decisions, and application and data integration. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Mr. Anthony. Moving on to our next speaker, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Ashutosh Srivastava, Chief Operating Officer, AGIO Platform Reliance Retail. E-commerce leader with a strong passion for creating customer delight and long-lasting impact for business, delivered with technology at the core. Previously at the Meesho, he was a part of the leadership team, shaping and executing the overall company strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Ashutosh. And our last speaker for today's panel discussion, I would like to call on stage Mr. Vipul Agarwal, Head Planning and Logistics, Voltas. Supply chain professional with 23 plus years of progressive accomplishments in managing end-to-end supply chain, expertise in leading sales and operation planning, network optimization, warehousing, and logistics to drive organization goals of profitable growth. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it from Mr. Vipul. Have a wonderful panel discussion, and over to you, Mr. Tej.
Very good afternoon, everybody. How's the Josh? I think we should go back for another lunch. Just kidding. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be back here for the second edition of IISCS. I welcome you all to this exciting show Advancing Digital Frontiers, Transforming Logistics with Technology. This is a very apt topic purely because the advancements we see in technology today, some of the stalls that you may have visited has some of these transformative technologies already here today. I'm honored to be a moderator for this esteemed panel. And a special thanks to Mohit, Ayushi, and the IICS team for having me here. My members, seniors, and colleagues in FIATA and FFAI. Before I start, can anybody guess why did cardboard box go through therapy? Can anybody guess? You can just raise your hands. No? Okay. So it had issues with being boxed up all the time. So our goal today is to introduce you to the diverse range of technologies that are currently available and examine how they are revolutionizing the logistics industry. In today's rapidly evolving world, technology has become an integral part of our daily lives. It has revolutionized industries, and logistics is no exception. The logistics sector plays a crucial role in connecting businesses, consumers, economies worldwide, a fact that was highlighted over the past few years. We are witnessing a transformation that is reshaping the way logistics operates. Our ultimate objective today is to guide you to selecting the best technology that suits your requirements. The electronic bill of lading has been in the limelight over the last few years. As a part of the FIATA Reset program, the FIATA digital strategy that was adopted by the presidency, the electronic FIATA bill of lading and freight pay are two very important initiatives which were made for you. What is most significant as a part of the FIATA digital strategy is the focus is on the actual logistician. So the focus is on you. And the core of the program is to empower the SME forwarder with digital tools equal to larger forwarders. As chair of ABIT, I am proud to share what FIATA has been doing. The FIATA electronic bill of lading rolled out in May 2022. Later that year in October, there was already a proof of concept. The POC was done with 2 coffee traders, Arab Bank in Switzerland, and 2 different electronic bill of lading platforms, where the transfer of title of goods, so move from the seller to the buyer digitally, completely. So what happened is that the logistics providers, both of them at the receiving end at the origin, were on a electronic platform. The exporter, well, it was a domestic transaction, but the buyer and seller was on the same platform. Both were customers of a bank called Arab Bank in Switzerland. So when the document was transferred, it was transferred using a computer. That company was using an electronic bill of lading, electronic platform for transmission of documents. It went to Arab Bank, it was stored in their blockchain wallet, and effectively it moved from Arab Bank, it moved to the buyer, again using technology. It's so seamless. We actually demonstrated a POC of this in the FIATA World Congress in 2022 in Korea last year. The additional projects that we are working on is with DCSA, which is the Digital Shipping Containers Association, to ensure that the data put on the FIATA electronic bill of lading can actually be entered and transferred and become the master bill of lading. We are still working on some projects with DCSA. There are 8 shipping lines who are a part of DCSA, and we hope in the next 1 year or maybe a year and a half to ensure this is rolled out as well. The FIATA bill of lading can be issued through a national association that has signed the distribution agreement. I'm pleased to share that 26 countries have been onboarded to use the FIATA bill of lading, in addition to over 24 service providers that are geared up to distribute the issuance of the FIATA bill of lading. So it's not that you have to go to another system or a platform. Your existing software that is there, you can issue the FIATA bill of lading from that platform. That's not all. As a part of the Cargo Integrity Group, FIATA is working on an app which will provide a CTU checklist. For those of you who do not know, Whenever we load containers or we load goods into a transport unit, at the receiving end, we notice that there are damages. The Cargo Integrity Group created a CTU checklist, which FIATA is going to make into app for free distribution. So once that is made, you will be able to record the integrity of how the goods were packed. You'll be able to record the condition of the equipment that it was packed in and also the surroundings. And then keep that on record to save that for a rainy day. We gather here today to explore how digital frontiers are being pushed and how these advancements are transforming the way goods are transported and then delivered. The focus on this session today is emerging technologies. Trends in technology have gone beyond in-house systems. We are going to dwell in the future of logistics technology and provide you insight to what lies ahead. Luckily for you, I have carried my crystal ball that will take you to the future. Just kidding, I was trying to see if I still had your attention. I don't have a real crystal ball, but I have a crystal panel that effectively will lead you to the future. Thanks very much for joining us. The logistics industry is constantly evolving. It's important to stay up to date with the latest advancements in technology. This session will provide you valuable inputs on what to expect in the coming years and most importantly, how to prepare for it. Countries are in the process of implementing a carbon tax. This does not affect only large corporations, but it also affects small businesses. As a logistics operator, it's crucial for us to understand that every action we take has an impact on the environment. It's time for us to take responsibility, make changes that will benefit not only our businesses, but also the planet. How can I save the planet, one may ask? Technology can aid us in becoming more sustainable. With technology, we enhance efficiency, reduce cost, and ultimately provide a better customer experience. In 2023, 90% of organizations, and this is an actual statistics, are adopting, planning to implement new technology in logistics or supply chain operations. The integration of automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, Internet of Things will enable businesses to harness the power of innovation. These technologies will streamline processes, enhance efficiency, and meet the ever-changing needs of customers. Additionally, with the growing utilization of AR and VR, these will have a profound impact on learning and training in business environments. We are privileged to have an esteemed panel of industry legends who have not only witnessed the birth of technology, but have also invented them as well. Their valuable insights today will aid us into painting a vivid picture of the future. Together, this panel will aim to plant a seed in your mind, enabling you to envision the future as we do. Without further ado, I will request each speaker to share their experiences, their vision about the session, and the topics as well. Our first speaker, I would request Mr. Anthony to please share your experience.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. So sometimes we might get confused when we hear a lot of technologies. How do we go about and choosing a technology? I will give a simple thumb rule. A technology should be adapted either to increase the value to our end customers or increase the efficiency or productivity so that my cost is optimized, or increase the quality of my service to my end customers so that my customers have delightful. With that, in the context of global trade, our end customer is a shipper. So from the shipper's perspective, at least I see three main important things as a logistic providers we should able to provide for them to do the operation successfully. Number one, the resilient or the reliability or timeliness of my shipment, visibility of my cargo, and some transparency of my data, what I want to connect with. And the third one is the cost, a competitiveness, I can price it to the international market. And remember, the cost of my product is not the marginal cost of production. It's a transport cost, import exports compliance cost, and legal compliance cost, and information cost. These are all not adding value to my product. These are all non-value adding product or non-add value cost. And these are all the one which logistic like us, we are trying to save that part of the cost. So couple of technologies and everything, when we try to look at it, there are many technologies are already being used or already being under the POCs kind of a concepts. So if I look at these three main aspects, in my view, blockchain and IoT brings that visibility, efficiency, and transparency in the network. And that would be the futuristic thing. You will see one trusted global network of player with the trusted supply chain or blockchain is what possibly a futuristic vision, what I am thinking about. Second technology is about, you might talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all those big data and all those things. Because you have a lot of data for you to give a capacity planning as well as an optimistic planning of your supply and demand and your supply chain planning, right? And the third one probably that what we might be thinking about is a twin, digital twin and other things to bring you the security of all aspect of other technologies, right? Apart from that, these are all advanced technology, people talk about it. But more than that, there are simple tools and everything which we will talk about according to the panels, and then we will share some of my thoughts. I'll pass by now and share the things to others. Thank you, Tej.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. Our next speaker, I would like to move on to Mr. Srivastava for your vision.
Yeah. So Tej, just building on to what Mr. Anthony mentioned, right? I will talk a bit about the domestic logistics, because that's the play which I and my organization have. And fundamentally what I have seen is, because it's a hyper competitive ecosystem, technology is the core tenet on which most of these businesses, at least in my ecosystem, are built on. And it's not only the logistics and the operations part of it. It's about whether how good you understand your consumer. And India is a large country, right? People of different demographic, people of different age, people from different parts of the country have different aspirations. So you can't treat them and paint them in one color. You need to understand different set of consumers and design your strategies of implementation accordingly. I can't have one set of product being sold at the same price to all consumers in the country. Those days are over. With the innovation which is happening globally, that's where my competition is moving. I have to have an edge over them. Now that edge can't happen in traditional ways. It needs technology, because look, if somebody smart is doing it, that guy is replaceable. He can't be part of my organization possibly tomorrow. So I have to have a sustenance, which effectively means I need to deploy a technology rule which identifies the right set of products at right price with right timelines commitment to a consumer. At the end of the day, technology just ensures that you do the right thing each and every time with zero failure rate. The days of Six Sigma are over. You can't have one failure in a million. You can't have any failure right now. That's the aspiration of a consumer, and nothing else apart from an end-to-end stitched technology layer can deliver that kind of experience. And experience is a word which everybody overuses, I think. And anything which is subjective, which can't be measured, effectively loses the whole steam. So just to share with everyone, experience is a measurable metric. What effectively happens is, if you're delivering a high experience, which you measure through your consumer NPS, it has a high correlation with the retention of the consumer on your platform. So you don't need to spend additional money of any kind to bring that consumer back to your platform. That consumer is sticking on the platform just because you're delivering consistently good experience, what you promised to that consumer. The same fundamentals apply to B2B ecosystem also, as what Anthony mentioned, right? The logistics has to solve for all these challenges so that even for the B2B ecosystem, we deliver our promises using the core of technology. That's what I think is the most important thing right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very powerful statement. The days of Six Sigma are over. You took me back to my MBA days. Next, I would like to request Mr. Binay to share his experience on the topic.
Yeah, hi. My name is Binay Topil. I represent a company called Odex. Our stall is at the very back of this hall, and we are exactly what that in the industry. We are a pipe which enables communication between multiple stakeholders in the industry. So we are kind of invisible, but we are there at the background taking your messages here and there. I agree and disagree with my fellow panelists a little bit because I disagree with Ashutosh a little bit on the fact that sometimes technologists भूल जाते हैं कि हम राजा नहीं है, राजा प्रोडक्ट है. तो हम मंत्री भी नहीं है actually. Sorry, I'm slipping into Hindi. I'm a little bit more comfortable when I speak my heart in Hindi. So we are there because we are an important cog in the wheel, but we are not the real product. So that's, I think, one slight difference that I have with Ashutosh. But Ashutosh works in a very sexy part of the logistics. Tej, I hope I can use the word sexy and I won't be thrown out. So wherein, they are on the cutting edge. And on this side are the boring guys. We are the traditional box movers. So how a common thread which will tie this up together is technology at the end of the day. So that's my take on it. It can mean various things for various people, but I feel that a single thing is that for me, technology means internet, something that ties up everything together. So I think that's just my view on how logistics and technology ties up.
Thank you very much for the interesting context. Now you know why we've placed him strategically at that place. Next, I would like to request Mr. Vipul Agarwal to share his experience.
Thanks, Tej. Good afternoon, everyone. So as I'm hearing out the panelists, I think there's some very interesting thoughts. The way I think is, there is a line called logistics is simple but not easy, right? So and if you see, we all have seen a Google website, right? It's a simple scroll bar with a search engine. It looks very, very simple. But there is a lot of work which has gone into make it that simple. Same goes with logistics, if you say, in terms of how do you make the life simple in an organization, but it's all the work which goes at the back end, and all that work will happen only with technology. I think as we move forward, or in the recent past also, we as logistics people have embraced logistics, have embraced technology, which is helping us to make it simple. Right now, still it is at a certain stage where we are. In any organization, if you see, the line between a disorder and order comes through logistics. So what does that mean when we say disorder and order? You can see a certain stream of processes working through in an organization, and with the help of technology, which brings an order in an organization, whether it is the integration between planning and logistics. Let's say you have a front-end supply chain with sales system and marketing, and a back-end system with, let's say, production, purchase, and other processes. Until all of that is stitched together in a right manner, it's become a challenge. And all of that can happen with the right visibility of data, accuracy of data, and all of that works through technology. I can share a couple of examples. As Ashutosh rightly put in, the whole dynamics, and I'm talking more from the consumer durable space. If you see the whole dynamics, the whole channel dynamics have changed in the country. If you see a decade back, 90% or even 95% of the sales happens through a traditional general trade channel, right? So the organization will give it to distributor, distributor to retailer, and then the consumer picks up the goods. First, the modern trade comes in, hence the requirement of technology goes up. Then e-commerce came in, then again the next level of technology came up. Now the organization is saying, how can we reach the customer directly? It's like D2C model. So let's say if I'm at Voltas or in any of my previous organizations, how can we reach the customer directly and get the customer insights directly so that we understand what kind of products we need to put in future. So all of that brings lot of challenge to the logistics with respect to technology. And the biggest challenge or biggest enabler to do this is, if you ask me, is in logistics, and for logistics it's become technology. Similarly, as India is developing, we are going from top towns to rural, right? So the development or the demand geographies are more from the rural markets. And to reach to the rural setup, the next level of work which is required again in technology. That's how only logistics will reach to the last level of person in the country. And for logistics to reach to the last level of person, you need that level of visibility, information availability at any point in time. Then only you can reach to the customer, and that's how we can build the nation, right? So it is around building the nation with logistics and with technology. That's how I'll put it through in terms of the whole big picture. And I think there's a lot of work happening around it, and it will continue to, and that's how the whole focus of the government is also on logistics. If you see the last decade, the whole focus remain on logistics. I still remember our Prime Minister talking about lot about supply chain during COVID period. And lot of us used to be very happy, okay, at least the Prime Minister is taking supply chain, talking about supply chain during the COVID period. So this is the initial thoughts. As we move forward, we can share some more examples around the whole piece. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vipulji. In fact, one takeaway, logistics is the opportunity, technology is the solution. And I echo your sentiment. It's not just you as an individual or us as logisticians, but our Honorable Prime Minister and the government has effectively created an ecosystem. And we spoke yesterday, our chief guest, P.K. Agarwal sir, spoke about the national logistics policy. Effectively, all of this, effectively rolls around or wraps around itself on the future being logistics and technology oriented. Moving on to our last speaker, Mr. Mayar Patel, request you to please share your point of view to the audience.
So I represent Gina & Company, which is one of the youngest company, 124 years old. I'm sure we call it youngest because we not only have been adopting technology, but we've been looking at instances where we do better business with technology. I think that's a benchmark that we have set within the organization. So I'll just throw a concept and probably the India story, which we all have been talking about. The dimensions of India as a global perspective is changing. And probably if you see what is happening in the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen that the internal consumption is growing up, number one. India has now become the manufacturing hub, and a lot of interest from global organization has been there to set up their shops in India. You look at auto manufacturing, you look at retail, you look at car companies. So this is the dimension which is very important, and this exactly is the 20-year-old China which is coming up now when we talk about service. So logistics as a service industry has got tremendous potentials when we talk about. When we talk about domestic as an operation, technology surely will be the backbone. You talk about export-import, technology comes in place. So I think as a perspective, each of us run our own ERPs. But when we talk about digital initiatives, we're talking about AI, RPA, blockchain and various technologies and how we can implement those. But as a strategy, it is important to know that do you want to collaborate with a startup? Do you want to build your own technology? How you can do the three most critical part about the value chain. One is speed of delivery. Second is adoption of the right technology at the right time. Because when you adopt the right technology, your experiences, your adoptions, your integrations can grow up. And lastly, when we're talking about value chain, the customer service excellence plays a very important role. I think it's touched by one of our panelists here. This delivery pattern, the type of monitoring the delivery pattern is going to be very, very important. And that's the service level we deliver through technology. I think that's what stands out at Gina.
So here we have it, 124-year-old young company leading with technology first. Any software providers here in the audience? Can you just raise your hand? Anyone? Okay, so SaaS is out, LaaS is in, logistics as a service, just for your next statement. Okay. Moving further, so what we're going to do is, we are going to make this panel discussion more for you. We want to have more participation for you. So we're going to take one question for all the panelists, and then we are going to open it to all of you because we would like to hear from you. What is it that you want to know from us? So I will give you about 5 or 7 minutes to please think of what you want to ask us, and any one of us here. Plan it down, and then we will go to you first. Okay? So the most important thing, and going back to Binay being in the center, is focusing on interoperability. Our plans were expedited by COVID for digitalization, but it also brought about the significance of communication. As I mentioned in my introduction, the electronic bill of lading. The FIATA BL was implemented in May 2022, but the uptake of the electronic bill of lading has been less than expected. I will open this question to 4 of our panelists. I would like to start with Mr. Mayar Patel on his thoughts of the question.
Yeah, I think the FIATA bill of lading was discussed last year as well. I know technology plays a very critical role in this. The name itself talks about EBL, right? The electronic BL. But the point here is that if you look at the practical scenario of how everybody operates is, today freight forwarders operate on their own house bills. The liners have their own EBLs. The question is right, how do you interoperate? But what I see is that acceptance part is the gap. When you have a product available in the market, I think the reach has to be there. I think technology probably is a piece which I would not deny it. But I think my take is that if the reach comes in, then the adoption discussion starts in, and then how to implement it.
Very interesting perspective. I would like to move to trade, to Mr. Srivastava. Your thoughts on the topic.
So, Tej, the whole point is any new technology, whenever it is built, the whole idea is it will deliver certain improvements and efficiencies on metrics, right? And the folks who are building it identify this as a step jump on efficiency in the ecosystem. The same is with electronic bill of lading. So, and people generally are resistant to change. Now, when you deliver a POC to someone and demonstrate that this brings in a lot of efficiency and the identified objective is solved, then the first movers are there who will latch on to this technology, move ahead with this. The moment it becomes a POC, a proven POC in the ecosystem, in next couple of months, the whole ecosystem turns around. This happens with any kind of blue ocean strategy where a new solution is deployed in the system. So it's bound to happen. It's just about when will it happen. The moment a POC is built and solved, it immediately will have a fire spread effect and everybody will move on to this platform.
Very interesting thought. So just to share, taking on this cue, as carriers say, 60 to 70% of the documents are issued in non-negotiable format. So we are already seeing a huge shift towards that space. Mr. Anthony, moving on to you, your thoughts on the question?
Hello. Yeah, I think I mainly work with a maritime logistic provider. We build a Pomfret Cloud and integrated platform. If you really look at it, the WTO, it's a World Customs Organizations, they found that 40% of the time, the cargo only stays in the port for clearance. 60% was the ocean voyage. So every international organization realized that interoperability is the first thing or key thing we need to move forward. So the FIATA is one of the very important aspect, and you will find a lot of push from the international organization, be it IMO, all those organizations will come and try to enforce that. That is about the document interoperability, which we have already integrated with Fiata, Touch, for your information. The second thing is about machine-to-machine interoperability. That is another important dimension. You are a freight forwarder. I have to deal with many ship liners. So I cannot go to their website to track any one of the data or anything else. I want to see it in my system. So my system should be able to interoperate with any one of the online or any one of the ship liners if they provide an interoperable API. So a couple of standards are coming up. Look at the ship owners or the port agencies. There are around 3,000 ports or 1,500 active ports. If I have to deal with the thing today, I have to deal with the port, each one of them differently. Imagine the additional pain what I have to go through, right? So even port interoperability. So these are the standards, and interoperability is more important than any other advanced technology. That's my view.
Very, very interesting. So, what Mr. Anthony is impressed upon is the software capabilities for interoperability. Last, going on to Vipulji for your thoughts.
I'll put it more from the in general perspective, in terms of electronic bill of lading. When you're talking about, I think over a period of time, the whole digitization and compliance from the government bodies, the regulatory bodies, they are adapting to it. Even in our own organizations, if you see, earlier people will ask for hard copies of proof of deliveries, and over a period of time, we have moved into EPODs in our normal domestic work, right? Same will going to happen very soon, Hana, like you mentioned, electronic bill of lading. And it is only the matter of time that people adapt to it, and even the government authorities understand the importance of it, the benefits it brings to the table, and make necessary changes in line with it with respect to legislation or the IT Act, where it, let's say, plays some role in terms of implementing it through. That's my thought on this.
Thank you very much, Vipulji. So, I have saved the best for last on this question. So, we have with us Binay, perfectly placed in the center once again. So, the question to you, Binay, is you entered an era where you were mainly dealing with, there were freight forwarders, there were custom brokers, and there were carriers. It was extremely, disfragmented or disoriented way of communication using traditional means. You, I think, are one of the early movers of interoperability. So, can you share your experience of that and try and couple it with where will you see this interoperability with other systems and the electronic bill of lading? Thank you.
Thanks, Tej. So I had the mic right from the word go, so I was waiting for all the other panelists to finish, itching to speak about it, because this is what we do for a living, bread and butter. So when Mr. Anthony said that there are so many ports, each port has its own different formats. If I were to look at India with such a large coastline and so many different ports and big, small, international, local, ODEX, what we did was that standards existed, but nobody really built a single web page and said that, okay, you want to connect to Mundra, Adani, you just select Mundra from the drop-down. You want to connect to JNPT, you just select JNPT from the drop-down. I think standards are there. Standards have been there for a long time. So then the question comes that what interoperability are we talking about? So sometimes it just takes a few of us, technologists, to get together and say that let's make it simple and let's implement the same standards. For example, today an invoicing standard is IFT, FCC standard, which has been there for donkey's ages actually. So have the shipping lines implemented the standards? Yes, but does the trade use the standard? No. So it just takes somebody to get together and build a very simple page, and that is where I feel the opportunity for the technologies exist. On the other part of the EBL part of it, I feel that sticking to paper is, for organizations which are going to stick to paper, it's going to be a slow, painful death. That is what it is. So if you're not going to adapt, if you still want to stick to paper, then God bless you, I would say. So that's how I would look at it. Having said that, I would borrow from what Ashutosh said, that if the solution is right, if the market is there, then why doesn't it take off? So I feel that on the EBL part, somewhere the opportunity was lost. COVID was a very good opportunity to push it through. We are late. Shipping lines have changed wherein they have only 20-30% physical BLs being released. So I think that the great opportunity that EBL had, which was during the COVID era, is kind of lost. We have the 2030 legislation commitment that everything will be EBL, but we could have done it in 2021 is my take on it.
Thank you very much, Binay, for the interesting thought. So now we open the floor to questions. If anyone has any question, please raise their hand and someone will come and hand over a mic to you. So we have some. Please request you to first give your name, your organization. If you have a question which you would like to direct to a specific panelist, please do address that as well. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, I am Rahul from Raj Petro. I am heading warehousing and inventory. My question is to Ashutosh and Binay. This is regarding the vehicle tracking. So I would like to ask, for the market vehicles, the vehicle tracking is still based on the SIM. And this system has its own challenges. So what is the next technology will be there to, because the SIM based tracking is, if there is a network down or if the driver switches off the mobile. So what can be the next technology to take care of it?
Thank you for the question. I'll take a shot at it, though I am not an expert. What I understand from the ecosystem, because I work closely with the leading domestic logistics players, specifically in the movement of B2C shipments. What I see is, though it's true that people were earlier loading the tracking softwares on the mobile of the driver, they have now moved to an IoT solution where they directly integrate it on the vehicle. And not only the tracking, they have cameras also installed which nobody can switch off. For example, a driver switches off a camera, then a direct notification goes to a central control tower and somebody is tracking that, hey, you can't switch off a camera effectively, because a lot of time drivers, while driving or during the duty time, they'll switch off the camera, go and do tinkering with the shipment, which all is wrong, right? So you don't want all of that to happen. So technology has moved ahead and it's already deployed by a lot of players in the country, wherein you can't tinker with the technology. It's giving complete real-time visibility of the shipment, of the truck, of the driver. It's there, it's available, and I'm sure people will take it up and it will get utilized by the whole ecosystem.
So my take on that is that the solution has to be very simple and cheap, because cheap and simple solution, mostly the penetration increases. So in this case, I think there is a bit of work that probably Government of India has done which can help us, wherein so what are we tracking? Do we need that the truck has moved 1 kilometer, or do we need to track that the truck has crossed the Thane toll naka or Vashi toll naka? Is that good enough? So what level of tracking is good enough for us? I think with the toll networks in India today and the digital connectivity, Government of India has this data. There are various initiatives from the government where this data, you can subscribe to it, and this data can also be made available. It's not very openly available, but I think this is the simplest and cheapest solution rather than relying on a lot of devices. I would say jugaad wala solution India ke liye. But having said that, I also read recently that government has mandated that all trucks should be air conditioned by 2025. So which means that the cameras will also work. So that's the next step. So I would say if I were to build a solution, I would build the simplest, cheapest, कोई hardware नहीं लगाना, government से जाके थोड़ा सा विनंती करते हैं कि give us this data. This is my truck, or this truck is currently deployed with us. Can I get this data? And that is a good starting point, I would say. Then we probably drill down a little bit more and say, okay, minute level, kilometer by kilometer tracking, how we can achieve that.
So I'll just add on here.
Yeah.
Some of the new initiatives which are government directions which are going to come to the auto manufacturers are that the GPS devices will be fitted on the vehicle itself. So the picture of SIM will not be there. Now, if that technology comes in and it is enforced, all your invoicing, your challan payments, everything will happen through that medium, and that is also launched on the satellite program. So it's a time when these things will be coming very soon.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Over to the next question. This one at the back. Can someone please hand over the mic?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Captain Pankaj Kapoor. We are maritime admiralty lawyers. Our law firm is called Quadrant Legal. My question is based on electronic bills of lading. I'm an ex-ship captain myself, so that interests me a lot. And the question is for the entire panel. Mr. Binay said that we missed the bus in 2021 during the COVID. The entire set of panel said that it's a matter of time. Could somebody at least, you are stalwarts of the industry, could somebody at least tell us when it will actually start, the electronic bills of lading? Thank you.
So it's a lovely question, Mr. Kapoor. First, we must realize, at least this is my opinion, and this is the opinion that a lot of us share globally as well. The electronic bill of lading today, technology is no longer a challenge. It no longer poses a challenge. It is actually legislation. What is a bill of lading? A bill of lading is a negotiable contract between two parties. Now, if I and you enter into an agreement, if we have a question or a problem or a dispute, we have to go to mediation. Most contracts will have to be passed or will go through legal teams of organizations. If there is no legal regime, effectively there is no reprieve. So, you will not have the court will not have any law or basis to rule. So, therefore, the UN has a model electronic law on electronic transferable records. This was implemented by Singapore. Recently, it was implemented by the UK, and if I'm not wrong, there are about 6 or 8 countries which have already got a model law. After the recent G20 summit, India and a lot of the countries who are participating in it have also shown interest. So we will see them adopting really quickly. My personal view is that we will see adaptation probably in the next half a decade or so. I'm also a part of 2 other panels which are with the International Chamber and with the UN European Economic Commission. We are working on digitalization of not only the bill of lading, but we are working on digitalization of 40 electronic documents, starting with the invoice, the packing list, the custom declaration, the insurance document, all the types of bills of lading, the transport documents, the road receipts, the railway receipts, including international conventions such as CIM, CMR. So there is a huge push. Anything that we see being implemented on a global scale, especially which requires law, it does take time to penetrate and change. So, I see that as an opportunity in the next maybe 5 years or between 5 and 10 years, we will see wide scale adoption and acceptability. Further, when we talk about banks are the gatekeepers to countries for financial transactions. A lot of banks are on board. A lot of banks are not. So I had a customer who said, I'm very keen. Now their major trading partner is Bangladesh. Right? Every document has to be a letter of credit. Is the bank geared up for that? Personally, I think not. So that's exactly where we will see things happening very fast. There's a lot of interest. We spoke about it last year, this year, and we will speak about this in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. We'll take 2 more questions at the back. Karthik, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Tej. Hi, everyone. It's an honor to be listening to this esteemed panel. I'm Karthik. I'm the co-founder of a technology platform in the cross-border space called Intimo. We've been working on this space in the last almost 3 years now. and we are kind of developing products primarily on the interoperable space, and that's the main discussion here. So our experience has been that typically when we entered this space and thought of creating interoperable technology products, right? Because when you look at the supply chain, there are too many players who are handling operations on the ground. So, but the systems that they're using, the systems are not really talking to each other, right? From the shippers end to the consignees end. In fact, a small trivia which you might not find in any internet report is we actually counted the number of times a typical airway bill or a shipping bill number is entered into different systems from the shipper's side to the consignee side. It ranged anywhere, the same bill, the airway bill number is entered anywhere between 15 to 35 times, by different players, sometimes in the same players, like a freight forwarder, there'll be different teams and they'll be entering different times the same number, right? So just a small trivia there. So see, what is the problem when it comes to the interoperability, right? The first thought that comes to idea is, okay, is the technology really there to make things interoperable? I think that everyone knows that the technology is really well ahead, and the talent is also there, especially in a country like India. So then the question is, people talked about standardization here. To be honest, standardization need not be necessarily done at the source. There are startups like us, companies like us, who standardize data, who can take that effort and invest even the capital and the effort required to standardizing the information. In fact, that is how we've enabled, say, some of the tracking solutions that we have, where different liners give different data, but we kind of standardize milestones. See, but the biggest problem essentially is, companies themselves opening up their systems for interoperability. And the problem kind of increases more when you move towards the carrier side, as in from the shipper side to the carrier side, right? So as you go more towards the carrier side, that is where the maximum inertia is there. And Ashutosh, you talked about doing POCs. Even for POCs, we've seen a lot of inertia coming from that side. So, as a young startup founder, would love to run on the esteemed experience of this panel in terms of finding some hacks, in terms of how to make various organizations in different segments, right, from the shipper side, consignee side, freight forwarding side, agent side, customs side, carrier side, to open up systems to enable this interoperability. Would love to know your thoughts on that. Yeah.
So Karthik, to summarize the question, are we talking, your question is related to interoperable software, correct?
Correct, interoperable software, yeah.
Thank you. Can I request Mr. Anthony to take this?
Sure.
And I think you had a question about POCs from the trade side.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Ashutosh, request your thoughts.
I think that's an interesting question. And in fact, that's the same question I asked myself when I entered into this one. But I wanted to give you one perspective. You said that we are startup, we can put the standardization of format. No, you look at it the way, why the industry is not adapting. Look at FIATA, one of the International Freight Forwarding Association, has done the electronic bill of lading long time back. People are talking about this, and why then people are not adapting? Because when you look at the maritime logistic, it is not only about business. It's not only about shippers. There are a lot of players in between, especially port authorities, private and public authorities, geopolitics, many things are there, correct? So it's very difficult, startups or technology people per se, to change this technology adoption. At least that's the way I see it. But you are absolutely right. So another way to look at it is that, can we make this standard open standard or open source code? That's another way the technology people will adapt, and that will become standard. Like in many other financial or other industries where a technology is followed that way. But here there is a public or the government authorities are there, and that plays a very important role in adapting. That is one of the reasons why even if EFPL, electronic bill of lading, still faces the challenge. So I see if you are working on solutions like this, you need to look at some of the great bodies. For example, DSA, some standard, Digital Corporation of Ship Association. There are Ship Liners Association. Because until the higher authorities enforce these standards, I'm afraid the adoption might lack. So look for some of the standard bodies. For example, if you are working on maritime, look at IMO. If you are looking for custom solution, look for WCO. Look at, and another one is here, I already highlighted, International Chambers of Commerce. They are initiating 40, 50 documents of standards. Look at that. You will not lose of adapting solution to that, because one day or other they will try to enforce, and public authorities or port terminal operators or even air cargo operators doesn't mind adapting this big organization. So I would say either we need to adapt through the bigger guys or through open source. I believe the first one might be the best way to look forward. That's what I see it.
Can I request Mr. Patel to supplement this?
So, Ganesh, I think one of the points which is fundamentally open and known to all of us is that supply chain has been running systems which are a little bit old or legacy, or people are revamping their systems onto new platforms. I think the crux starts from there. But when you look at a direction, it's happening straight from the PM Gati Shakti ULIP program. You're talking about collaboration, right? You're talking about collaboration of all the logistics service providers as data. So there is a direction which is coming on. ONDC is another direction which is coming up. But I think without collaboration, things will not matter. Things will not move ahead. So I think things are moving up the scale. People are opening up. And the thing is that if you don't collaborate, don't interface, then you are left behind. So everybody has woken up in that direction, and I think things will fall in place.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Stage, I just have a couple of things to add. So Karthik, what my 2 cents on the thing is that why should a carrier open up to you? Their GDP, their turnover is the GDP of a country. They're large enough. So it is the responsibility lies on a young tech startup to find a way. And that is your USP. So if you as a startup founder want to become successful, find a way. You will find a way. And stay invested. Stay invested for 10 years, the carrier will listen to you after 10 years. But you will have to stay invested. Are you willing to do that? That's the question. It's not the carrier's fault. Let's not run this startup founder privilege over here, right? So it's stay invested, put your head down, get to work, find a way. That's as simple as that. So governments will also listen to you if you stay invested. That's all.
Sure, grit is what matters. So yeah, stay invested.
We'll take one last question. Yes. So I would request you to please focus the question around smart and newer technologies, please. You raised your hand, the one in the white, yes. Can someone please pass him the mic?
So, good evening everyone, this is Tejas from OpenLane Solutions. We are also a young startup company. Tech-based, we have SaaS platform for whole supply chain industry we are targeting to solve the problems. So since we are talking about transforming logistics with technology, even we are in the stage where government is also supporting us with the Gati Shakti Yojana and all. I have a question or a suggestion. Since this transformation is being investment in technology, I will say. So for a logistician, what percentage of your account is can be suggested investment in technology? Is my question clear? As the panel has a good experience over here using a technology, what could be the percentage, average percentage that can be invested in technology? As
So
a logistician.
are you talking about the software part, investment in IT? you are
Yeah,
saying?
as a logistician, how much percentage of your account
Logistics
can
company investment in IT.
Yeah, in technology.
So it would depend on how large you are, large, small, medium. What is your requirement, and at what stage you are in. See, that is very, very important to know, and that's where the investment comes into the picture. So some might be having a situation where they want to revamp their software. Some might be having a software which is already running and they're happy with it and they want to adopt new technologies. So it's a situation which cannot be commoditized or said that this is the percentage. But more or less, it should be around between 1 to 5% of your turnover.
Well, so as Mr. Patel said that, see, technology is something, it depends on what you want to implement. So I'll just give you my experience. A lot of it has to deal with vision of the direction of the organization. The first 20%, the cost to implement is or change is very little. Between 50 to 80% is probably equal to the cost of automation. Going beyond 80%, it becomes negative. So we could probably take further questions offline, or we could, if you have any more inputs on this, we could take it a little bit later. So we've had a very interesting panel on new technologies. We've learnt about, what is there, what is going to be there tomorrow, what are the challenges that we face as far as technology is concerned, especially on areas of interoperability, etc. I would like to leave you with 2 quotes. Okay? And these are very deep quotes. I thought about them, only then I wrote them down. Once a new technology rolls over you, you are not a part of the steamroller, you are a part of the road. This is written by someone called Stuart Brand. It's very relevant for us to realize that digitalization is not here. It is going to take us over if we don't work on implementing it. Binay made a point about those who still continue to use paper. The second quote in conclusion, which I would like to share, is the success of this session is not what you're going to take home. Whatever you take home and implemented it, thus making your individual contribution to a better and brighter future. I would like to thank my fellow panelists. We've had a very balanced panel, starting from Vipulji and Ashutoshji being from trade. We've had Mr. Anthony and Mr. Binay, who are tech companies in the space. We've had Mr. Patel, who is running a very successful logistics organization. I would thank the organizers for having us for a lovely session. And most importantly, thank you, the audience. Thank you for being here. We are always here for you. If you are a startup involved in technology, please connect with us offline. FFI as an association is doing a lot on technology as well. Thank you and have a great rest of the day and good conference. Bye.
Mr. Tej rightly said it was a very balanced panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for our absolutely amazing moderator and speakers for this session.